hello everyone. I'm Nimi, co-founder of Adventurize. Welcome. This is Venturing Beyond 9 to 5. As always, thank you for tuning in to season 2 of the podcast. In this season, we'll be talking with a lot of really cool, experienced freelancers and solopreneurs and entrepreneurs of Harish. So if you don't know about Adventurize, really quickly, we are a community-led learning and networking platform for freelancers. So if you'd like to join the freelance fan community, then Ritu, my co-founder, will be sharing the link in the chat right now. And before we dive straight into the session, I want to share like a really exciting update. You've probably heard already, but we're launching our first cohort program really soon. It's for beginner freelancers. So we're helping you with everything you need in order to get started freelancing and find clients. So this session should be really interesting to you because Harish is going to be sharing about his client experiences. So yeah, and what we won't be doing is like this passive learning kind of thing. So we'll be working hands-on and you'll be interacting a lot with your mentors to get through this cohort program, and we'll be giving additional career support after the program ends as well. So it should be really cool. Check out the details. The link will be added in the chat right now. And yeah, it's on an application basis. So please do hurry up. But yeah, I'm really excited to welcome Harish to this podcast. So you must have heard of Curious Harish on YouTube. He's a YouTuber, right? And he's also the co-founder of BlueLearn, where it's an all-in-one platform for the overall growth of tier 2 and 3 college students, if I'm right. And Harish will talk more about himself as we start. But welcome. It's so wonderful to have you here. I'm really excited for our conversation.
Thanks, Nimi. Pleasure being here.
Yeah. Okay, and I want to kick it off with like a little bit of an icebreaker. So if you could immediately gain one skill, right, what do you think it would be?
I think it'll be more of like a social skill, like maybe understanding people better, because I think, no matter what you're doing, if you're freelancing, if you're starting up, if you're working for someone, I think just understanding where people are coming from, why they take certain actions, why they speak the way they do, and just diving a little bit more deeper into behavioral psychology. I think that really helps in making better decisions and, dealing with people. So yeah, I guess maybe understanding people better, which I'm still learning and I'm not the best at.
Yeah. That's really cool. I was thinking kind of similar as well, but especially in terms of I've been reading a ton about copywriting, and
Yeah,
it plays a big part of that as well, right?
it does. Yeah.
Convince people. And yeah, speaking is definitely super important and something that I was thinking of when I wrote this question down. But yeah, if all the people who are listening in want to add their thoughts into the chat, that would be fantastic. But Harish, you started freelancing at like quite a young age, right? And in our freelance fan community, we have quite a few college students who've started freelancing. Do you have any advice for them?
I think, especially if you're in college and when you're like super young, one advice would be don't stick to just one type of freelancing gig. I think you guys are super young, you have a high risk appetite. So, get your hands dirty, try doing multiple things. Because, for example, when I started off, I stuck to graphic design. And if I had still stuck to graphic design, maybe I would not have been able to maybe start a startup or like build a team and stuff like that. So, though money is enticing, though you're making a lot of money, do make sure that you're upskilling, you're trying different things out, and like keep broadening your horizon, because the world is massive, markets are massive. So start off with one skill, but don't think that you have to do the same thing for the next 50 years of your life. You can try a bunch of things out. You're young, just explore.
Yeah. For college is like the time to experiment, and you have nothing like holding you back in terms of failure as well. So that's definitely solid advice. And I'm not sure, was it your LinkedIn post where you mentioned that it's also the time to experiment and like try starting new businesses as well, or doing something of your own, working on your own
Yeah.
stuff? Yeah. Did you? I'm not sure where you mentioned it, but that was a good piece of advice and something that you realized after college, right? You want to start working.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really feel like college is one of the best times to start your own business because A, your parents are paying your fees in most cases, and you don't have any financial burden on you. You have a hostel room, which is maybe technically a workspace. You have a bunch of friends who are ready to work for free. Like if it's an exciting idea, there's no money involved. Like everyone's gonna just come and bring their skill sets in, and you guys can work together. So you have a team, you have a workspace, you have no financial burden. All you have to, all you need is like an exciting idea and some time. So I feel college, and even if you fail, like what's the worst that's gonna happen? You're gonna anyway get a degree, and maybe you can use that degree to get a job later. So it's just a very safe space to start a startup. Like we capitalized a lot on it. We started two startups, one failed, one slightly worked out. Um, and that's why I sort of encourage people to try ideas out in college itself, because 99% of the startups are going to fail. And later in life, when you're like 30, 40, when you have a bunch of responsibilities, taking that kind of risk might not be super appealing. And that's why college is a very cool, safe space. Not just college, even like the first couple of years after you graduate, there's no risk. There are no major responsibilities. So yeah, you can take crazy bets then.
Yeah, definitely. And it's never too late also. So like
Never too late, yeah.
for sure. But yeah, diving a little bit into your freelancing career. So what was your first client experience like? Do you remember like how you found your first client? And yeah.
So I feel, especially in things like freelancing and B2B sales, where you have to deal with other businesses, uh, though you can do cold mailing and a bunch of these things, one of the best ways of getting clients is by just expanding your network, right? So at least for us, what we did was I just spoke to a lot of people in general. Like being an introvert, speaking to people might be uncomfortable in the first go, but like I just hit up random strangers on Instagram or on LinkedIn, and I was like, hey, look, your work is really amazing, and I would love to know how you started the startup. I would love to know how you worked on this project. I would love to know how you got into Google. So just talking to a lot of people gave me insights about the industry, because when you're in 12th grade, first year of college, like you don't know much, right? And I think one of the best ways of learning is by just talking to people, by talking to as many people who have been there and done that. So that's what I did for the first couple of weeks. I just spoke to a lot of people who are already in the industry, bunch of freelancers, bunch of business owners, a lot of startup founders. And post that, once I had known like 10, 20 people, it became way easier. So one of the founders that I knew, their friend sort of needed a book cover designed. Like he was an author, and he wrote a book, and he just wanted the covers designed. And I knew a little bit of graphic design, and that's how I got my first gig. So the way I got it was by just talking to people, I guess. And to be honest, like, don't make it transactional, right? Like, oftentimes people make friends or, talk to people or hit people up on LinkedIn just because they want a client. That's not always the case. Like, a lot of people just want to have a conversation. So, the more human you make it, like, the more easygoing it is. Like, just like how you talk to a friend in college, like, just talk in the same way to a bunch of uh, people who are much elder than you, and that way you can form a much stronger relationship versus saying, I'll only talk to you if you give me a project. Like that usually does not work out well.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like important to maintain those relationships afterwards as well.
Yeah,
So yeah, if you have any tips to share about how you can keep the relationship going, or you know, yeah.
sure. I think I'm terrible at keeping relationships going because a lot of times I just like don't follow up with friends, people that I know, and stuff like that. A lot of times I miss messages. So I'm bad at it, but I'm trying to improve. I think the least you can do is reply to messages on time. Like I'm trying to get better at that. Next one is getting better at replying to emails and stuff like that. And the next one is just sort of building a personal relationship with them, right? Like maybe wishing them on their birthdays, keeping track of their birthdays could be one. Another one could be, if they've achieved something, maybe if one of your friends has raised funding for the startup, or like if they got married or stuff like that, just congratulating them. Like these are all small things, but
Hello, Harish. I think you froze a
These are
bit.
small gestures which could actually pan out.
You just froze a little bit, so maybe like the
Think.
last couple of seconds.
Oh, what was the last thing you heard?
Um,
Just
just
one
like,
second. I live close to the airport, so there's like a plane flying by.
oh, maybe why. No, I heard the bit where you talked about, following up with friends in case like a major event happens in their life.
Okay, yeah. Someone said birthdays was the last thing. Yeah, birthdays, weddings, or them maybe congratulating them when they've raised funding or when they've achieved something in their lives. Um, and another thing that has really helped me is just shamelessly asking questions. Like usually you have to first let them know who you are. Like a bunch of my friends, the way I formed relationships with them was firstly I let them know that I was to bits, I'm doing this, I'm working on this project, and I need advice. I think once you set context and start asking questions, a lot of them are just nice people, and they more often than not they'll just help you out. So that's how I form most of my relationships. And then after that sometimes they ask you for a favor or a question. Like I know the education industry well, so they ask me questions about the education industry. I ask them questions about, say, the creator economy industry. So I think those kind of knowledge exchanges also really help in terms of growing.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely agree with you. Like, especially like on LinkedIn, you are doing a lot of networking and trying to build your personal brand, right? And then a lot of times you make connections and you have conversations like via like DMing with people. And then it's just hard to remember to, follow up with everybody on your list. Then it's really nice when you think of someone or you have a question that you want to know something about, you can just reach out via DM. And that's a way of keeping in touch with people, right? And then, of course, they can ask questions back to you and follow up. Yeah, that's a good point. I think like major, I don't know, holy and Christmas and stuff are probably ways as well. But talking about personal brand, I'm curious about whether you've had like any inbound clients, and if so, do you have a strategy for that? Or yeah.
Yeah. So I think if you want to get inbound clients, you have to stand out, right? I think that's the most critical part. And the people who stand out like win the game. Like they're the ones who are going to get majority of the clients. They're the ones who are going to get who will make most of the revenue. They're the ones who will turn from freelancers to agency owners and so on and so forth. So I think uh, it's like this economy is called um, the attention deficit economy, right? Where every company is fighting for attention, every human being is fighting for attention. Like you open Instagram, you open LinkedIn, everyone's fighting for attention. So when there are so many people fighting for attention, including advertisements, like how do you make yourself stand out? It's super hard, and very few can actually accomplish it. I'll give you an example of the freelancing space. I think there's this girl called Shreya Pattar, who's a content creator, and she has around 100,000 followers on LinkedIn. I think a lot of people
Yeah,
might have
we had
seen
her on
her
the
around.
podcast too. She was really cool.
Yeah, so like she has a solid personal brand, right? Like every time I think of Shreya Patel, I think of a content writer. And because of that association, the next time someone wants a content writer, they'll just contact Shreya, right? So I think that really helped Shreya. And in a similar way, I don't know anyone for video editing or like um, for probably copywriting and a bunch of these other skills. So I think building a personal brand and getting inbounds is one of the best ways of doing it. But the only hard, tricky part is it's not everyone's game. Not everyone can do it. You need to grab people's attention, and if you have to grab people's attention, you need to like be consistent with your content. You need to try different platforms out. It's more of a it's a very experimentative process. A lot of people just give up on day 5. So it's hard. But for me, my YouTube presence and my LinkedIn presence helped me a lot. YouTube because like telling people that I have 150,000 subscribers really helped me establish that social credibility that I've done something and people follow me. In terms of LinkedIn, um, as well, right? Like when you have followers, though it's a bad thing, like when people look at your follow account, mentally they have a perception about you that, hey, look, this person might have done something in life. That's why he has so many followers. So that really helps you establish credibility and also reach a large amount of audience in one go. Like when I post on LinkedIn, I can reach like 60, 50,000 people in one go. I can reach probably like uh, maybe 10, 20,000 on YouTube. So that instant reach helps when you need something, when you want to like get done with something. But yeah, it's a very long process. It took me 4 years to reach. So if you guys are up for that game, then sure. But like just a heads up, it's a long game. It'll take time.
Yeah, and it's so easy to give up. When you say consistency, like all of this is so easy to hear and say, but actually following through and spending time every day to create content and
Yeah.
create that brand presence is quite tough. Yeah, and switching it up a bit, let's look at like the outbound side of things. So what happened when you started doing outbound outreach and like actively looking for the clients that you want to work with? Did you have any type of strategy? Were there any, like, did you niche down beforehand, or did you just know that you wanted to work on these kind of projects?
Yeah. So for outbound, if you just send a random email saying, "Hey, can I write copies for you?" or "Can I do graphic design for you?" no one's gonna answer the email. Like you'll get almost zero replies. So there are just two ways of doing outbound, according to me. One is solve a burning need that that person or that company is facing. For example, right now our designs on our website are really bad. So if someone emails me saying, I can help you improve your designs, I can give that person a shot, right? So if identify what's the burning need that some startup or some individual is facing and suggest a solution towards it. The second way is to just ask people in person, or when you're in a meetup, or when you're like building a network, right? So what I mean by that is, like you go to a party or a meetup, or you go out for dinner with your friends, you meet friends of friends, like you start talking about business. I think that's a great way of building relationships. Like I still remember I went for this business meetup 2 years back, and like I just spoke to people there. It was a networking event, and few of them liked what I did, and few of them want to give me a chance into like trying my services out. So that was good. Like just building a network and asking friends of friends, friends of friends of friends. I think that really helps. So
Yeah.
yeah, these are the two things I think might work for outbound.
Yeah, it makes sense. They're like warmer leads, and they kind of know they can trust you a bit more than
Yeah,
if completely doing cold outreach.
exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, meeting people in person, of course, like you get that instant connection, right? So that makes a lot of sense. And we actually talked for the first time last year, right? And then this happened, so this is pretty cool. Um, but yeah, I just Shreyas, he's joined the audience as well, and he had a question. He's a community member. He just had a question about BlueLearn, and he's curious about what updates you have and what you think you're working on for the future.
Yeah. So at BlueLearn, we want to build like a global university, right? That's been our mission. Like, how do you bring a university level experience online? So today we're primarily based on Discord, and on Discord we work on something called the club model, where we think that people learn in communities, people learn in clubs. So we have an English club, we have an entrepreneurship club, we have a philosophy club, we have an anime club, and my members join these clubs, get access to content, they meet a bunch of people, they network. There are a lot of opportunities shared, and I think that's what forms a university experience. So that's what we're trying to build. So even in the future, our goal is to deep dive into these clubs, scale these clubs to millions of members, and take it from there. So it's like the way you can imagine is, how do you take a Stanford level experience to everyone and democratize that? That's what we're building towards. And yeah, taking tiny steps every day.
Yeah, for sure. That's really incredible. And that's like the really cool part about university or going to school, right? That collaborative aspect of things and, actually getting feedback, like, all sorts of things. But
Yep,
since we're working like the education and community space, we have a lot in common. So,
for sure.
discuss things in the future. But that's really interesting and cool. So, yeah. We have a question from shawnak. What are your views on outbound outreach for foreign clients?
Oh, so foreign clients are really tricky, right? I think so. Oh, okay, cool. Um, the thing about freelancing is uh, Indian clients are easier to get, but Indian clients don't pay. Like only the big startups or people with lots of money would actually pay. Majority of them would not pay you well, or majority of them would make you work extra hours for less pay. So India is still a developing country, right? Like all of us have to accept that. So I really feel it's kind of hard to make a massive business out of India unless you're targeting the hotshot startups and people with actual money, right? If you're targeting, say, small companies or medium-sized companies, it's very hard to get money out of them. Like most of them would not spend. So one suggestion is try targeting, a little bigger people. I mean, you can start off with smaller clients, but like eventually you'll have to move up if you want to make serious money. And the second one is I think India has talent, and there are massive opportunities outside, right? Like Europe, Australia, US, Singapore. Like there, people have money and they're ready to spend it on you if you provide good services. But the tricky part is reaching out to them is super hard. Like they would rather prefer, another American or another Singaporean over an Indian, right? Because Indians don't necessarily have the best impression in terms of quality of work out there. So you'll have to prove yourself. You'll have to maybe travel to those countries and meet a couple of those people, get to know their culture better. Like people who probably need me, like people like you, right, who have been in the US or some other country. I think they have an unfair advantage because you guys understand the culture way better. So I think having someone else, maybe a friend in the US who helps you out get clients, or maybe you traveling to other countries and meeting them. I think that's a way more solid approach of getting clients. You can try the online method as well, but it's going to be hard. Like just a cold email might not work out. You'll have to build a relationship over a very long period of time. You'll have to give some value. Or if there's a burning need, as I said, if they have, and if you're trying to solve for it, then it could be good. But suggestion for you is like improve on a lot of things, right? Improve on your communication skills, improve on your texting skills, emailing skills. Like you have to improve on a lot of things before you think about international clients. Else it'll be hard to get them. But once you get them, you have the price arbitrage. You have dollar to INR conversion, and you'll make decent money, and you can probably earn a good living as a freelancer. I know so many people who are making probably like one of our friends has a agency which makes like $3 million a year, and it just serve like US clients. They don't even like entertain Indian clients. So point being, the serious money, but very hard to crack. So if I were you, I would maybe start off with India, slowly scale it up, and then try my hand at US if when I want to like scale up seriously.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I think the trick is to build that trust and credibility,
Yeah.
especially in terms of the quality of the work you do. So agree with you. And can I ask, like, what is your experience as a client as well? Because Shrestha is asking if you've ever hired a freelancer for
Yeah.
BlueLearn specifically. So what's your experience as a client? What would you look for? What kind of puts you off?
So we have around, I think, 10 to 15 freelancers working with us right now. And like we have people for graphic, we have people for content, we have people for moderating our Discord, we have people for organizing events. So we do like working with freelancers. And the way we choose them is um, a major problem with most college freelancers is time commitment. So if their time commitment matches with our time commitment, we go ahead and hire them. So A is time. B is we don't sort of we need people who understand the space really well, right? Like people who have done their research and homework before approaching us. So a lot of these people whom we hired were just BlueLearn members, and they knew the community well. They knew what we were doing. They knew our product inside out, and that way we didn't have to explain them too much. And from the first day onwards, they could work. So people who have done research, people who understand our pain points, people who know people who are like self-initiating, like they don't just see themselves as freelancers, they see themselves as part of the company and give suggestions on how we can improve, they give feedback. Like we're looking for those kind of people, right? People who are entrepreneurs in themselves. I think these are like few criteria that we look at.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Harish. And I know that we're running out of time, but Tushar has a question. Can you also share your thoughts on tips to charge advance payment while cracking a writing gig deal?
Yeah, sure. Um, so if so advance payment is a little tricky, right? Sometimes if you trust the client a lot, like for us, we make payments on time. Like we've never ever delayed a payment or canceled a payment. There have been times when a freelancer didn't even show up, but we just paid them because that's what was written in the contract. So I think for few companies like us who just trust people blindly, uh, even if like we don't have to pay in advance, we'll pay people on time, right? So when someone asks us to pay in advance, we feel that the other person doesn't trust us enough, and there's like a trust barrier. And though we have paid a lot of advances, most people that we work with like get paid after doing their work. It's because like we just very like we keep our promises, right? Like we pay on time, we don't like mess around. We're very strict about it. But at the same time, there are businesses which sort of might not pay you on time. So suggestion would be, if it's a high growth startup, if it has a good brand name, and if you trust the business enough, then asking for an advance might put a bad impression. But if you don't trust the individual, if you don't trust the company, and if you think they might not pay you, then you can charge in advance and see if they're comfortable doing that.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And like you said, it's tough, right? Because you have to trust the client and the client has to trust you back.
Yeah.
Like a balance in there. So
Like just yesterday, like we paid someone in advance and they just like didn't show up. So few of those things happen, but I guess it's a compromise from both ends.
yeah, yeah. And I guess that's like also in terms of negotiation and stuff beforehand, right? Do you have
Yep.
any experiences to share in terms of how you negotiate with clients and have conversations and really try to be open about things?
Yeah, sure. I think the beauty about freelancing is when you're starting off, say as a content writer, right? You can charge $10 an article, you can charge $1,000 an article. Like it's diverse, right? So it depends on the type of clients you work with and how much experience you have. Like today, I know a bunch of freelancers that we work with who charge uh, like their rates start from a lakh a month, like that's the minimum for any project that they take up. And there are freelancers who even work for like $50 or 5,000 rupees. So it's a very diverse range. But I think with experience, so what usually happens is when you're a small scale, when you're just a college student, you tend to work with all kinds of brands at all kinds of price ranges. But as you grow up as a freelancer, you gain years of experience, and then you just have like these select clients that you want to work with, and you can charge like massive rates because you have crazy skills that no one else has, and those guys can actually afford you. So I think that's how it works. So in the beginning, it's fine to have, it's fine if you work for less because you're gaining experience. But as you move on, I mean, definitely you should charge way higher because that's what you deserve.
Yeah, 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 for sure. And but yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Harish. And it was really good talking with you. And sorry that we don't have as much time. You do have to rush, right? Do you have anything?
I can take a couple of more questions
All right,
if
awesome.
there are.
Actually, like I'd love to hear some more about your client experiences, and
Yeah.
just like to the audience here, if you have any questions, feel free to send them in.
So like, should I talk about my client experiences?
Yeah, I'd
All
love to
right,
hear.
cool. I work with US clients and Indian clients, and both the experiences have been drastically different. Like any day, I would prefer working with US clients. I don't know, just personal experience, right? Because like a lot of Indian clients that I worked with were not respectful. They didn't respect timelines. They didn't respect the work that they gave. maybe it's the type of businesses that I work with that were really small, right? Like really, really small businesses. I should have worked with high growth startups, which have like enough funding and they're respectful and they have like great leaders. But instead, I ended up working with small businesses, which wasn't a good idea. So a lot of people just don't reply to texts, they don't respond to your calls. Like, didn't really love, wasn't an enjoyable time, right? Because you're always anxious about what's up. So that wasn't a good experience. But US clients were very punctual. Like, at least the ones that I worked with were very punctual. The pay was amazing. And it was just more fun to work with because you're working with someone from a completely different culture, and like it's just and the instructions were clear, and there was mutual respect. So I think that way my experience was a little different. I had way more fun working with US clients than Indian clients, but could be different. Like I know a lot of people who just serve Indian clients and still are making decent money and have great relationships. But I was a kid, so you just learn on the way.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. And I think one thing that you pointed out that's super important and that we've kind of realized as well is that freelancing is really not just about, doing your work and focusing on your core skill. There's so much that goes into it in terms of managing communication and like, there's a lot of other, you're basically working by yourself as a solopreneur, as a business, running a business by yourself, right? So that makes sense.
Yep.
Shawnak is asking, so how do you find these high growth startups, the ones that you wished you worked with in terms of Indian finance?
There's this website called Crunchbase, where you can find startups which got recently funded. So for me, a high growth startup would be any startup which raised more than $2 million in the last 2-3 years. That's high growth startup for me. And there are thousands of startups like that across the world. So it's a massive market.
Yeah. Oh, Tushar commented next session on important pointers to be put in TNCs of freelance gig contracts if possible. So if you're up for that. All right. Okay, Himanshi asks, what are the negotiation tips you suggest for newbie freelancers?
I think a lot of people just know their market rates, to be honest. Like how much you're worth. If you don't, then the way you can calculate it is understand your opportunity cost. For example, for me, if I need to calculate, like I run my own startup, and if I have to give myself a salary, and if I need to decide how much salary I need to give myself, then I'll calculate my market rate, right? Like I'm from BITS, I'm in my 4th year. So if my friends are getting paid X, then there's a high chance even I might have gotten paid X if I opt for the other route, and therefore I should be paying myself X. So just compare yourself with the peers who have the same skill set, and that way you'll be understanding your market rates, right? So for you, if you're a freelancer with 3 years of experience, talk to 4 other freelancers with 3 years of experience, understand what their pricing models is, and you'll get an understanding of like how much the market is ready to pay and how much you should be charging.
And that's interesting. I've also heard that another tip is to like kind of work backwards in terms of how much expenses you have and how much you would need to. So you can kind of work backwards in terms of the number of projects that you need to work on this month, something like that. Yeah. We'll be like talking about things like pricing, and I think Tushar mentioned contracts in the cohort as well. So that should be interesting for you guys. Shreyas is asking, what domains do you think is trending a lot in freelancing?
Could you repeat the question, please?
What domains do you think are trending a lot in freelancing?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, it doesn't really matter which domains are trending. If you're among the top 1% in any domain, like it could be motion animation, right? Which is a very niche skill. You'll win the market, right? So the best in the design get paid the highest. Like the top 5% are the ones who make like 90% of the revenue. Like all the money just goes to them. So whatever domain you pick, it doesn't really matter what's trending. Just try being the best at it, and that's the only way you can move up the ladder. It's a very competitive industry, but just try being the best at whatever you pick up. It could be as simple as maybe designing water bottles, right? Like it could be something as niche as that, but just try being the best at it so that you get all the like you sort of cater to the demand.
Yeah, and you can kind of position yourself as an expert in that
Yep.
specialized niche. Yeah, that's super interesting. And Himanshi asks, how do you prepare yourself to pitch for the first time to a client?
Yeah. Um, it's actually a good question.
Mm,
I would say when you're pitching, don't make it about like don't just get on a call and start your Google slides, right? Like just talk to them, just try establishing a relationship and ask them about what their core problems are, like what's bugging them, like what's that loophole in their business that's bugging them the most, and suggest solutions. More often than not, you wouldn't even have to like open your share your screen, show your work. Like just tell them about, hey, I saw that your designs are really bad. If you could improve on your designs, it'll help you have a better brand aesthetic, and that way people, your customers will trust you better, and that'll lead to your overall business growth. So once you like start talking about problems, and start suggesting solutions, they'll trust you way better and understand that he or she is someone who can help me out. I think the entire call, the first call, should be around what problems they're facing and how you could fit in.
yeah, it's super important to listen and to like, you know, that it's as a startup, as an entrepreneur myself, like that's something that companies would find important because, as a running a business, you face a lot of problems, and that's why you hire a freelancer in the first place to like take care of those challenges. So when you can offer solutions or ideas that kind of would help you out, then you're immediately more likely to hire them, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And like I heard this somewhere where they said in the first call, if you're the one as a freelancer talking the most, then you have lost the client already. So, which is kind of true, right? Like if the client has a burning need, if like if the problem is so grave, then he or she is supposed to be the person talking the most about the problem that they're facing. So try targeting clients who need an urgent solution to a big problem.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I don't know if you want to take this question, Harish, but Shreyas asks, what does BIT's vice chancellor say about your startup?
Oh, I met him for 10 seconds, dude. So he just said good luck or something.
No, helps anyway, right? A good moral boost.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Himanshi asks, oh, hi, Aman. Good to see you. Himanshi asks, how can you deal with fussy clients? Have you
A
had
fussy
a bad
clients, you mean
experience, like a bad experience with a client like that?
fussy clients, you mean people who like care too much about the details?
Probably like, request a lot of edits or can't
Okay.
communicate properly, something like that.
Yeah, I think so. That's one of the reasons why you should hate freelancing because it's a baggage that comes with it. Like you'll have to make a lot of changes, and I don't have the patience to freelance, to be honest. Like uh, you need to be super patient in those terms because some clients can be fussy, as you said. I think one way of dealing with it is making the terms really clear in the contract itself about how many edits you'll be doing for free and how many edits you'll be charging for, and being as clear and as detailed as possible in the contract slash proposal is the way to deal with it, right? So if you're graphic designing, then be like, after three changes, I'm not gonna make any changes. Like that's the final version. I'm not gonna work on this project anymore. But yet you'll have to pay for the efforts that I've put in. So I guess being super clear on that front is the only way of dealing with that part. But to be honest, it just like ask any freelancer, like it's just part of the problem. So best you can do is have more clarity about what the expectations are, what your expectations are, and how you communicate it to each other.
That's a really good tip, and it's important to like be clear about it in the beginning itself, so you can lay it out in writing. And like a suggestion would be, this many number of edits, and after that, you start charging for it
Yep.
extra. So something like that. We'll talk about this in the cohort also. So it's like a good question. And Shawnak is asking about your first cold message or cold email. Do you remember
I don't remember because I never got a reply for that. So
that? It taught you to customize your messages afterwards, right?
yeah.
um, so yeah, maybe the final question then. How far Sorry, Himanshi, I don't think I understand your question. How would three edits work for social media management? I think.
Yeah, I think it should be good enough.
Yeah. All right. Do you have any announcements you'd like to make, Harish? Hello? I think you froze a bit again.
Not, but can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. Okay.
Yeah, I said if you guys are interested, you can join BlueLearn's Discord. Like a lot of fun events happen there. We have a gaming tournament coming up, so if you guys are interested in gaming, you can just come and drop by.
Yeah, you guys run a lot of events, right? Seems fun.
Yeah, we do.
That's very good. Yeah, so all right, Harish has shared the link in the chat, so you guys can check that out. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Harish, and it was really good hearing from you. And I think
Likewise, thank you so
fun as
much.
well.
Great questions, by the way. Really made me think.
Oh, Aman has a question if you want to
Yeah,
take
sure,
the
sure.
one. He just joined a bit late. He's confused about what to do in freelancing, YouTube or informative reels on Instagram. He wants to do all of these, but don't know where to start. Doesn't know where to start. So
Yeah. It's confused about. Okay.
Freelancing YouTube versus reels on Instagram. Interesting.
I would say the easier thing out of all of this is making YouTube videos or Instagram reels. So maybe start off with the easier one, and then eventually, as you figure things out, you can start freelancing. Because you haven't mentioned a skill yet, so I think you aren't sure which freelancing skill to. So in terms of easiness, I would say start making Instagram reels takes like barely 15 minutes.
Yeah, and I think like you'll start getting some experience in terms of creating
Yeah,
content, and you can
you become more confident in the way you speak. It
yeah,
gives you like
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and maybe our cohort would be good for you. You know, will help you like specialize and understand what type of niche you want to focus on, and build a portfolio based off of that, and give you support throughout that journey. So yeah,
yep.
feel free to check the link in the chat. And of course, like you join BlueLearn if you're probably already on it, because I think I saw you on LinkedIn. But yeah. Awesome, Harish. Thank you so much for joining us. It was really good to have you. And yeah, better can talk to you again after so long. It's been a few months
Yeah.
now.
Yep, it's been a long time.
Yeah. All right. Let's meet up when you're in Bangalore. But thank you, everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, come on, message you. And yeah, thank you. And I hope you had a good time. And just as a final announcement, Ritu just shared the link to the cohort if you are interested in being a freelancer and needing some support and accountability, maybe in launching your freelancing business. And we're here for you. We've got a really cool set of mentors who will be, guiding you through these essential pillars that we've kind of figured out through all of our live conversations. So yeah, we'll help you through launching the freelancing business, and we have a lot of stuff in terms of niching down or contracts, as was mentioned earlier, communication, outbound outreach. So it should be really interesting and helpful. Thank you, Harish.
Thanks, Nemi.
Yeah.
Have an amazing evening and good luck for the cohort.
Yeah, thanks for sticking around so long as well.
Yeah, no worries.